Hi! 2021 has ended. I thought it could be a fitting time to talk about the things I learned during the past year regarding my reading journey, and because basically last year was the year I really rediscovered reading for me, and I really started reading a lot, and I managed to actually read 31 books, which is quite a lot. And I'm very proud of it, and I just wanted to share like the things I learned and my little tips and tricks to read more and to find like things you enjoy. I know there are probably already like hundreds of videos on this platform talking about this topic, but I just wanted to give my little take on it and tell you about my experience I had in the past year. So let's maybe just start with the fact, let's put it at fact 1. It doesn't matter what you read. It really doesn't matter what you read. I think one of the main points I stopped reading was because I felt like I was too old to read like fantasy books for younger audiences, and that I had to read all these either classic literature pieces or pieces that are very informative about our society, about feminism, about socialism, about capitalism, you know, about all these things concerning our economy and our current state, and that's just basically not true. You're never too old to read anything. If you wanted to read a kid's book, you can. I actually did. I read The Little Prince last year, which is a book originally written for children, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think it was very sweet and it had very beautiful quotes, and this just shows that it doesn't matter for what audience it is originally written, and you just have to read what you enjoy reading, because don't get me wrong, it's always like a positive thing to step out of your comfort zone and maybe discover things you wouldn't pick up originally but then still enjoy, and it's also always important to educate yourself on the different social aspects we are going through right now, but you don't have to do this through the hobby of reading. Reading can just be a thing you do because you enjoy it and because you want to escape reality and because you like to get your mind involved and imagine things for yourself and not just internalizing what you see on a screen. So that's actually even the most important thing I would say to get into reading again and to read more, is just screw everyone's opinion and just read what you enjoy reading. Maybe if you want to get back into reading, have a look at your recent movies or shows you've watched and then pick some similar genre of book, because I guarantee you will like it if you start with things that are like in your comfort zone and near to things you already like. If you like movies with a lot of romance in it, read a romance book. If you like more sci-fi fantasy stuff, read a science fiction or a fantasy book. If you enjoy like historical stuff, read a historical fiction. You know, that everything that is a movie, there will definitely be some kind of book in the same direction. And just try reading what you enjoy, no matter if you like are 50 and you want to read a book that's originally written for 12-year-olds. It doesn't matter. If it brings you joy, just read it. Reading is not a thing you have to... I have to try and figure out the right wording for this, but it's not a thing that you necessarily have to brag about or that you have to discuss with other people to appear smart. You don't read for anybody but yourself. That's point number 2. Also a little related to number 1, but read for yourself and not for other people. Because I think a lot of people just kind of lose their self in reading when they have to read novels in school, because they are forced to read it and they are forced to interpret it and they are forced to read things for the teacher, for the grade, for the education. And that's actually when you lose the joy of it, because you don't do it because you like it, but because you have to. You have to get these thoughts out of your mind, because that's not what reading is about. Just read because it brings you joy, because you like it, because it's a little me time you have in a day. Make it a ritual, you know, just, you don't have to read because you want to appear smart or educated or different, you know. I think there's this cliche that, oh, she's a reader, you know, I'm so different than the other girls, I read. I read, you know. No. That's not it. I read because I like it. Full stop. Number 3 I learned is that it is not a catastrophe to not finish a book. I think the worst mistake you can do is to force yourself through a book. Some people can do it. My greatest respect to you. Really, I'm proud of you. If you are a person who can do it, just go for it. But for me, I lose interest in reading as a whole when I set myself the goal to finish a book before starting another one, even though I don't enjoy the book I'm currently reading. That will get me into a habit of thinking, oh, I could read right now, but I don't want to, because I don't want to read this particular book I'm currently reading. And if I reach that point, I'm just gonna put it aside and think to myself, this doesn't have to be the end of it. There will be a time period where I pick this book up again and maybe actually will enjoy reading it, but it doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be now. For me, it's more important to keep this hobby and to keep reading than to finish a specific book. That's at least my opinion. You can of course think differently, but that's what helped me get through as many books as I did last year.
Hi there, it's me from the future. I just realized that I haven't told you about another tip that is using audiobooks as maybe a transition phase from always watching stuff on a screen to then reading again. And there are so many free audiobooks on YouTube. Just type in the title of the book you want to listen to, and there's a high chance that you will just find it for free. And what helps me a lot is if I have trouble reading a book on its own, I like to listen to the audiobook version simultaneously to reading it. I did it with Dune, and I know I didn't finish this book, but actually it helped a lot to have the audio version, because you have the different kind of voices that make it a little easier to understand who is talking, and the tone of the things that are said, you can hear it from the way the person reading the story to you is pronouncing everything. And yeah, that's also a tip. If you have trouble finishing a book but you want to finish it before reading another one, try and listen to the audio version. That will maybe make it easier, and it will be easier because you don't have to focus on just reading, which is a point I think a lot of people don't read, because we are not used to putting everything else aside and just focusing on one thing. Many people, when they watch TV, have their phone in their hands, or I don't know, coloring in a coloring book, or my mom is always knitting, something like this. And you can't do this when you read. You just have to decide that you want to read your book, and that's the only thing you will do in this moment. And so if you have trouble finishing a book, listen to the audiobook version. That way you have the feeling that you finished the book, but you can, I don't know, clean, draw, cook at the same time. So you can just do it, like have it in the background, but maybe that will make it easier for you. That was just a thing that came to my mind that I wanted to say.
Another tip is read more than one book at a time. I know some people say they can't. Just try it, and if you figure out that's not what you want to do, then don't. But I think if you read multiple books, that of course you can't, it's Maybe some people can, but I wouldn't read like two young adult fantasies at the same time, because maybe you confuse like magic systems or world building from one book and another. But I like to read a book in German and a book in English at the same time, for example. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just only read one book. Sometimes I like to have like a smaller book that I can carry around with me to read when I'm out and about, and one like thicker book that I read at home. Or I like to bring paperbacks with me on the train, but not hardbacks. That's how I like divide my things I'm reading simultaneously, either on my mindset and what kind of book I want to read right now, or like the condition of the book and if I want to take it traveling with me or not. Tip number 4 is set yourself realistic reading goals. Don't get too confused with people on YouTube or on TikTok or anywhere on social media who are reading 50 or 100 or 150 books a year. You don't have to read this many books to consider yourself a reader. You can read like 2 books and consider yourself a reader. It's okay. You have to set yourself a goal that will be achievable, because otherwise you just will be frustrated and maybe forget about it all together, because you think like, oh, I will never achieve my goal of 50 books this year, so why even bother going on, you know? No, that's wrong. I wanted to read 15 books last year and I managed to read 31, which is incredible, and I'm very proud of myself. But also, and I have to learn this, it's nothing to brag about. I did this within the last couple of days. I was, oh, guess how many books I read last year? 31. How many books did you read? Oh, okay. That's shitty behavior. You know, it doesn't matter. Nobody fucking cares how many books you've read in a year. You know, it's just something for yourself, and it's nothing to brag about, nothing that makes you cooler or like artsier or special, you know? It's just an amount of books you read in a year. Don't make it a challenge with like anybody else. Make them feel bad about not reading as much as you did. You can of course be in competition with yourself, but don't set yourself a goal that's not achievable. Just think realistically. How many books could you read in a year with the life circumstances you have, with everything else going on? And also, if you have already thought about the books you want to read, consider like how big these books are, because some people may have read like 50 books a year, but they were all 100 pages. If you choose books who have like 700 pages, of course you will not be able to finish as many books as other people, because you spent much longer on reading this one single book you chose. So yeah, just set yourself a realistic goal. And if you are a person who needs to like feel the feeling of achievements, read smaller books. Set yourself a realistic goal and then mix in some small books. For example, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, I think. Yes. 57 pages and you can tick a book off your list. The Cafe at the Corner of the World. 105 pages, I guess. Somewhere between this. Very good, a self-reflective story about like the sense of being a human. Enjoyed it very much. 100 pages, you can tick it off your list. You know, if this will keep you motivated, choose short books. Don't go to the big books. But if you want to read big books, read big books. You don't have to buy books to read. I know this seems strange that I say that if you see my bookshelf behind me, and if you've seen my earlier videos where I only had one bookshelf, and when I started in February I only had 2 rows filled of this bookshelf, and now I have 2 bookshelves. But that's not how it should go, and I have to remind myself that I have to stop buying as many books as I do, because sometimes I buy books because I think I will like them, and then I start reading them and I'm like, don't think I will ever reread them. And it's nice to have them as a kind of trophy in your bookshelf. And I really would like to have my own little library at some point in my life, you know, with a ladder. But that's not what you need to do if you want to read. There are libraries out there with a great amount of books you can go through. And at least for, I think, my library, you pay like 16 euros for a year. For a whole year, it's 16 euros, and you can read as many books as you like. You just have to go there and pick something out and take it home with you and then return it in the, I think for a book it's like 4 weeks. But yeah, you can do that. They are also offering ebooks you can read, I think, at least. My library does. I don't have a library card yet, but that's a goal for this year as well. I want to have a library card. I want to read more books from the library and stop myself from buying as many books. You can, if you have Amazon Prime, for example, there are a lot of books on Prime Reading you can read for free. Of course, some people don't enjoy reading on their iPad or Kindle or phone or whatever. I too enjoy it more to have a real book. But sometimes it can be good to just figure out if you like a specific genre, or if you like, just these type of books. You don't have to buy one. You can just snoop around in Prime Reading. They update it every month, I guess. And just try new things without having to pay for them, which is great, I think, at least. So don't be fooled by everything you see on social media of people sitting in front of their color-coordinated bookshelves full of books they will never read in their lives. You don't have to own this if you want to read. You know? So many people have said it in this community, but I fully agree that like buying books and reading are two completely different hobbies. And if you just like to read and not buy books, totally fine. Better for your budget, better for your space at home, better if you're moving, because books are heavy. And yeah, keep that in mind. You don't have to spend a lot of money if you want to get into reading. And I don't know if I kind of said it, I think I said it already in point 1, but don't feel like you have to read everything that's popular right now. You just have to find the things you want to read. Of course, you can try books that are popular. I have a lot of books that were popular on BookTok and Booktube the past year in this collection, and I have read a lot of these books in the past year and I enjoyed a lot of them. But I also had a lot of them where I was like, okay, I don't understand the hype. And find what makes you happy and then read it. And don't be fooled by following the mainstream opinion, because it's not always what you will find enjoyable. If that's the right word, I hope. I think that's actually everything I wanted to say in this video. I had a lot of fun last year with everything I was reading, and with this channel. I know it has been a little more quiet lately. I've been going through some personal stuff, and I have 1 or 2 videos prepared already. I still have to edit them, and maybe I will post them, maybe I won't. Let's see. I also have a lot of ideas for this year to come. So I'm excited where this journey is going. I'm excited about the books I will be reading this year. I'm excited for everything that's about to come, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to motivate you a little bit to get into reading again if you haven't already. And yeah, thanks you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.